Zelensky's gratitude to Erdogan. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for his support for the return of 5 former Ukrainian leaders to their countries. At a private ceremony in the city of Lviv on Saturday, Zelensky praised the former leader who fought in Mariupol as a hero. He thanked the Turkish side and President Erdogan for helping to remove the former leader from office. Last year, the former leaders led the battle to defend the port of Mariupol, the largest city captured by the Russians during the occupation. 4,444 Ukrainian defense forces resisted in tunnels and bunkers under the Azovstal plant, until Kiev's release order came in May. More than 2,000 of them were arrested by Russia. Moscow released some Ukrainian soldiers in September following an Ankara-mediated prisoner exchange agreement, where the former leader would remain in Turkey until the end of the war. So far, neither Ankara nor Kiev has clearly explained why they were allowed to return to Ukraine. A day ago, after the news, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Turkey violated the terms of the agreement and did not notify Moscow. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended as a large group on the 500th day of Ukraine's war with Russian forces. As the Ukrainian president explained, representatives of the church prayed for the country's peace, victory, and freedom. On September 22, President Zelensky posted a message on Telegram thanking President Erdogan for leading the negotiation process that led to the arrest of many by Russia. In the announcement, Zelensky said he thanked everyone who contributed to rescuing the defenders for their cooperation and thanked Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for leadership. In addition, Ukraine, thanks to its assistance to our country, saved 5 British, 2 American, Moroccan, Swedish and Croatian citizens from Russian captivity. Thank you, Saudi Arabia, for your support. We commemorate all those captured by Russia and will do everything we can to save them. Edition includes British nationals Aidan Aslin, John Harding, Dylan Healy, Andrew Hill, and Sean Pinner. Speaking to journalists in front of her family's home, Aslin thanked Zelensky and the Saudi police for releasing him. Sean Pinner was also reunited with his family after the prisoner exchange and was photographed smiling with his mother, father, and siblings. As part of this exchange, 55 more Russian soldiers returned to Russia. All workers have been transferred to the territory of the Russian Federation by military transport aircraft and are being treated at medical facilities affiliated with the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Kremlin said in a statement. Welcome to the news that 5 British nationals held by Russian-backed proxies in eastern Ukraine have returned safely, ending months of uncertainty and pain for themselves and their families. I thank President Zelensky for his efforts to prevent the release of prisoners and for helping Saudi Arabia end its persecution of POWs and political prisoners. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Turkey at the invitation of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to discuss Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and its consequences ahead of the week-long NATO meeting. This will be Zelensky's first visit to Turkey since the war on February 24, 2022. Erdogan will host Zelensky in Istanbul, where the two leaders will hold bilateral talks first, followed by the next meeting of NATO leaders in Vilnius, where we'll discuss NATO's security guarantee for Ukraine. Ukraine also hoped the meeting would show the way to NATO membership. Zelensky will seek support from Turkey for NATO members to use heavy weapons and warplanes to attack Russia. The two leaders will also discuss the launch of regular food processing, which will enable Ukraine to export more than 30 million tons of grain and other food products to the world from August 2022. Russia said it would not prolong the initiative. It expires on July 17 as the conditions are not met. Due to the second Western sanctions, Russia cannot export grain, ammonium, and fertilizer. Turkey's Ministry of Defense said on Saturday, July 5, that Ankara is continuing its efforts to pursue the project through negotiations with Russia, Ukraine, and the United Nations. The commitment of the United States to supply missiles on the ground that could cause great damage to the Russian army. Washington's decision to supply weapons of mass destruction, banned by most of the world except Russia and Ukraine, caused a major setback in the war, which entered 500 days on Saturday. You can share the article by clicking the icon in the upper right corner of the article. Reproduction in whole or in part is prohibited without the prior consent of Le Monde. Please see our terms and conditions for more information. For all license requests, please contact syndicate@lemonde.fr. https://www.lemonde.com fr/us/international/article/2023/07/08/Zelensky wins Erdogan's NATO backing after Secure Us cluster bombs _6046104_4.html. Zelensky to secure bigger and better. He toured Europe, though not as quickly as his Ukrainian friends had hoped, but more armed than the rival army, which had long begun to resist. He described the new U.S. weapons program as available, extensive, and much needed, and tweeted that it would provide new weapons to destroy our lands. But U.S. President Joe Biden acknowledged that it was a difficult decision to supply Ukraine with hundreds of small bombs that could cover several football fields. By the way, I talked about this with our friends, Biden told CNN. The Ukrainians have run out of bullets. An emergency NATO AFP response team has identified the use of existing weapons in Ukraine and Russia, the use of which is strongly condemned by humanitarian groups. They warn that most of the bombs failed and could endanger civilians for years to come. You can share the article by clicking the icon in the upper right corner of the article. Reproduction in whole or in part is prohibited without the prior consent of Le Monde. Please see our terms and conditions for more information. For all license requests, please contact syndicate@lemonde.fr. https://www.lemonde.com fr/us/international/article/2023/07/08/Zelensky wins Erdogan's NATO backing after Secure Us cluster bombs _6046104_4.html. National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan. There will be a significant risk of civilian casualties if Russian troops and tanks go beyond Ukrainian positions and capture more Ukrainian territory. Russian authorities did not immediately respond. Zelensky also pressured Ukraine to join NATO, arguing that Ukraine had become Europe's last line of defense against Russian aggression. The White House said that accession would take place in the not-too-distant future, but not at a meeting in Vilnius, Lithuania, next week. Sullivan said Kyiv must take more steps before joining. Kremlin watches closely. Zelensky's speech in Turkey, a NATO member with close ties to the West, is monitored by the Kremlin, who is trying to negotiate with Recep Tayyip Erdogan to establish relations that will destroy him worldwide. Sheep separately. Erdogan is trying to portray himself as a moderate by promoting economic cooperation with Russia while providing Ukraine with drones and other weapons that helped Kremlin forces not take Kyiv in the first week of the war. But Erdogan continues to risk angering Russian President Vladimir Putin by supporting Ukraine's desire to join NATO, while reiterating his long-standing call for the two sides to engage in peace talks. There is no doubt that Ukraine deserves to join NATO, Erdogan said at a press conference with Zelensky in Istanbul. I am very happy to hear the president say that Ukraine should become a NATO member, Zelensky said in his speech. The message threatens to separate Erdogan from the Kremlin, which warned before the meeting that he would very carefully monitor the outcome of Zelensky's visit. Erdogan said that when the Kremlin leader makes his first visit to Turkey next month after the coup, he will brief Putin about the talks. The Turkish leader said he and Putin will discuss a prisoner exchange that Erdogan has helped organize in the past. Erdogan added that he will pressure Putin to maintain the agreement signed between Turkey and the United Nations last year so that Ukraine can export food to the international market. The deal will expire on July 17 if Russia does not agree to renew it. Nuclear review in progress. Ukraine and Russia have sounded alarmed about the threat of electricity extinction at Europe's largest nuclear power plant, accusing each other of plotting a provocation against Russian-run nuclear power plants.